We're going to run through the first fight between Mike McCallum versus James Toney. And I'm sure everyone who's watching this right now already knows what a classic fight this was. So I won't go long-winded about how elite these two technicians were. But if you want to go down a neat rabbit hole, find this video on Top Rank's YouTube channel. Go to the comment section and you'll see all the hardcore fans dropping knowledge about these two. All right, enough said. Let's get into it. Okay, so James is going to occupy Mike's rear glove right here. And then he's going to drop his weight to the right side of his line and throw that jab to the body. Next, Mike's going to jab as James pulls to his rear foot, parrying that jab right here. Then James is going to push off this rear foot, counter once again, occupying Mike's rear hand. Then he's going to follow up with that jab to the body. Again, Mike jabs as James pulls to his rear foot using that rear hand parry right here. Then James is going to counter back, looking for that lead to the body. All right, James is going to get to that lead foot, snap out that jab. Now he's on the right side of his line. He's going to throw the jab to the body, then come back up top. Okay, Mike's going to get to that lead foot, and here comes that jab, while James parries and pulls. Now he's on the right side of his line, and he's looking for that lead to the body. So James on the right side of his line, he'll double jab right here, and then check out that down parry from Mike. All right, so this is a good sequence. Mike's going to flick out that jab as James parries and pulls. Now James is on his rear foot. He's going to push off this rear foot, countering back with his jab. But let's go back to Mike. His head's over his lead foot, and he'll time James with a jab to the body, shifting his weight to the right side of his line right here. James is going to come right back, going high, and then check out all his weight's on that lead foot. Then he's going to drop his weight, kicking out this lead foot and going low to the body. Mike's going to flip the script. He'll go high, then low. Now check out that down parry by James. Little pendulum step by Mike. He'll feint and check out the drop by James. Okay, James is going to throw a jab cross. Mike will catch that jab on that lead foot and then drop under that rear cross. Now, Mike does catch James low, and they'll just walk it off. All right, Mike will jab, but let's watch James. His weight is over that lead foot, but now look, his weight is now on his rear foot. So that jab will come, and James is going to slip inside to that lead foot right here, looking for the lead hook. And they'll time each other here, and then one more time. Now right here, James is going to throw his leaping hook as Mike pulls. Now, Mike's going to come back with his jab while James looks to counter with his rear cross. Now, James's rear cross gets stifled under this jab. And now he gets stuck on that lead foot. And from here, Mike has his rear uppercut. They'll time each other. Okay, Mike will flick out that jab as James pulls. Then we'll see that a second time, Mike will catch him. Now, Mike drops here, and he looks to double up this jab, but then James follows suit with his own drop. And then check out how James gets to this lead foot, blocking that jab from Mike. All right, James will throw his jab as Mike parries and then pulls to his rear foot right here. Now, James is going to follow up with that rear cross, and Mike's going to pendulum away off of that rear foot. So Mike will get to this lead foot, snap out that jab to the body, and then he'll do it again, but this time James looks to counter right back. Now James is going to throw a jab as Mike pulls to his rear foot right here. Now this is pretty neat. Mike's going to get back to this lead foot, throw a leaping jab, getting under James' counter right here. He's going to throw a rear hook to the body, then lead hook to the body. And then he's going to catch this counter from James and then counter back with his own hook. Then get to this lead foot again and flick out that jab. Then feint right here. Okay, James will jab as Mike slips into this lead foot right here. Then he's going to immediately pull to his rear foot as that second jab comes in. Now, they're both worried about the rear cross coming, so they both drop to the right side of their line. All right, Mike will fold out that jab as James looks to parry and pull. And then Mike will look for that jab to the body as James drops. So Mike will initiate with his jab, and something to note, James will miss that parry, but since he combines it with his pull, he'll still evade. Then he's going to continue through his sequence by dropping right here, and then he's going to move or shift his weight to his lead foot, then rear foot. Little pendulum step, he's going to pull that jab, and then drops the double. Now let's watch Mike, little feint, pendulum step, lead foot, rear foot. He's going to snap out that jab, and then he's going to double it up. Okay, here's another neat sequence. James will get to this lead foot, fire out a jab as Mike pulls. Now, right here, James will follow up with a rear cross as Mike pushes off his rear foot to fire out that jab. And here's the neat part. They both continue their patterns even when tied up. Now, Mike's going to throw his rear uppercut right here. And this isn't super clear because it looks like a push, but James will be throwing his lead hook, putting him on his rear foot. All right, Mike will push off this rear foot, lift his lead, and drop his weight to the right side of his line, looking for that jab to the body, while James, at the same time, gets to his lead foot and parries right here. Then Mike's going to get back to that lead foot, snap off that jab as James pulls, and then James will do a little drop in case that rear cross should come. Then they'll look to time each other, and again, and this time James is going to push off this rear foot and come back with a rear cross. Then they'll get to the center of the ring. Now this is a good view, so Mike's going to look for that jab to the body. And when your opponent has his lead hand low like James here, it creates a nice little target. So Mike's looking to shoot his jab right here. Now, James is obviously aware that hole exists, so the way to close it would be to pull from his lead foot to his rear foot. So right now it's open, then closed. Mike will follow up a jab as James pulls and parries. Another jab. Then we're going to have a couple feints by Mike right here, and then again. So Mike will jab as James parries and pulls right here. Now, James is going to push off this rear foot and fold out that jab, but let's watch Mike here. He's on his lead foot. He's going to drop his weight to the right side of his line, throwing a jab to the body on the same beat as James right here. All right, James will change it up here. We've seen a ton of pull and parries, but this time, as Mike jabs, he'll slip his head over his lead foot and throw a lead uppercut. Now, what's interesting is Mike's pattern. After throwing his jab, notice how he drops right here. Now, if you're drawing this up and you're James, this is exactly what you want to have happen. Your opponent jabs, you slip to your lead foot, he drops, and exactly where you want to throw that lead uppercut is where his head will be. Now, he doesn't catch him, but boy, that could have been devastating. Then it turns into a scramble. Mike will jab as James throws his cross. Mike will look for this uppercut, doesn't see it. He'll get back to this lead foot for his jab. So James will go back to that parry and pull right here. Now, he's on his rear foot. He's going to get to his lead foot, check out that cover. Then he's going to use his rear hand to use it to control Mike's lead hand right here. Then he's going to look to time Mike coming in. Now James will jab right here, catch a Mike. Now Mike will drop as that second jab comes. Okay, Mike will jab as James looks to parry and pull. Then a little drop. And more of the same, Mike jabs and James will parry and pull. Now here's the interesting part. James will get back to this lead foot as Mike looks to double up that jab, but then James is going to catch and then counter right here. All right, Mike's on the right side of his line. He'll get to his lead foot, leap, then drop. Now, James was concerned about Mike's follow-up rear cross, but nothing came. So this is a good sequence. James is going to step on this lead foot, throw a leaping hook as Mike pulls to his rear foot. Now, James is going to follow up with a rear cross as Mike drops right here. Mike's going to come back with this rear uppercut as James gets stuck on this lead foot. Now, James is trying to get off this lead foot with a hook, right here. And he was able to kick this leg back so he could double up that hook, bring his head to his rear foot. And then Mike follows him back with that overhand. Now Mike will get back to this lead foot, snap off a jab as James pulls right here. Now they'll both drop. And what's interesting is both rear hands are loaded, but instead they both attempt lead hooks. Then James follows up with a rear cross. They'll time each other with their jabs. Now, this is slick by James. Mike thought they were going to be playing the same game, but James changes it up. Instead of jabbing with Mike, he's going to slip inside, catching him with that extended uppercut. Here, James will time Mike's jab right there, and then Mike will double it up as James drops. Then we'll see a little bit of movement here. Okay, here Mike goes high and then low again. Now, he's looking for that spot right here. And notice how James tries to turn that hole closed right here. Now James will look to return that favor by going to the body, and look where he's aiming, right in that hole. Mike will come back going high and then drop his weight on the right side of his line, then go to that body. All right, now James will trip up that jab. He'll go high, low, and check out all his weights on that lead foot. Then he'll go back up top. So Mike will come back again going high, and then notice he has no targets when he goes low. Then we have some feints. Next, Mike will get to this lead foot, spring out with a leaping hook, then throw out a jab, and then double it up. Here, Mike will target that body, and what's interesting is the fact that James looks to time him coming in with an uppercut. Now, Mike will fire out his jab as James is posted up over his rear foot, and watch how James immediately fouls him back with this rear cross. And one more thing, just so slick, as Mike pulls from that cross, he looks to catch him coming in with his lead hook or check hook, and then he'll come back with a rear uppercut. And then James will jab right here. And this is our last clip of round one. James is going to step on this lead foot, throw a leaping hook as Mike bobs down off that lead foot right here. Now, Mike's going to weave to his rear foot and then come up with this lead hook. And that should do it for round one.